Number 4 on Call of Cthulhu. Hopefully we can finally finish this. As you seen yesterday, Grizzly was doing that last bit because it was confusing to me and I got confused with the doors and everything else. So I'll let him take over. So now we have like 3 more hours left of this game. This game is actually pretty good. I'm gonna have to run back through and grab all of the other stuff that we missed. So yeah. Here we go. Alright, hang on. Let me put up the projector version so that Grizzly can see it because he's sitting beside me. He can't look on this monitor. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. We're on the second part of Chapter 9. Chapter 9 has 2 parts. A bunch of chapters in this game has 2 parts. I don't see why it's just like, instead of Chapter 9, just go ahead and make like Chapter 10 through 14 or something. Well, it's already got 14, so like 16 chapters. But I understand, it's the keep it going. Sorry if you guys hear us sniffling. We are suspected to have COVID for the 7th time. If you hear crunching, that's Grizzly trying to open his snack to watch me play this game. He's not meaning to be noisy, but it happens.
If the amulet can protect Sarah Hawkins from the influence of the mythos, I must find it.
Okay.
Oh God, tell me.
Yes, that is what my picture looks like. I have no idea why it looks like that. It just happened when I spawned in. It was looking better last night. Alright, so Grizzly got stuck right here on this part. I need to flip my fan because it's getting hot in this little corner. Why does this look like this? I don't know.
Keep in mind, our house has only been in bed for like 3 months. Only had a fire in one room. I hell look like that.
Well, it's because of the Kraken, Grizzly.
Oh yeah.
It's on the ocean water. So it's gonna have a lot of... Why does this look like that?
Hello? The bus sitting on a table with a skull on it.
Yeah, I remember that. But where?
Trying to still alive so I can go.
Okay, that's the kid's room. Poor little guy. He didn't deserve that. There's all kinds of written letters around the house. Found it.
Yep, I was just about to explain.
This is the amulet that Drake was looking for.
Woo! Is this him?
Oh.
No, that's...
Who's
Aren't you supposed to be dead? You know what? I made a decision that I don't know if I should leave him alive or let him die. Because his girlfriend already died. If you guys don't know, him and the doctor was together. You said he's where?
Right there.
He stayed in the same
it's
spot
you
looking at the
again.
same book.
Guy's a boring individual.
Yeah, I agree. I
Don't
don't.
do that.
I think I've found what we're looking for.
Let me see that. Yes, that's it. It's perfect. We are saved.
I must tell Mrs. Hawkins.
Yes, do that.
Game safe. Something's gonna happen. It's not gonna end well.
Back at the foyer.
Yeah, I know. I'm confused because like all these doorways
Keep
and
going straight.
I'm just looking for any things that I might have left off.
Or she should.
Are you the real
I
Sarah
have it.
Hawkins?
It's
I
a
don't think she's
strange
real.
amulet. I hope it will protect you, considering that nothing will help you change your mind.
You must understand. I already went too far.
What have you seen that's so terrible you convinced yourself that you had to risk so much?
I can't tell you now.
This story is going to end badly.
We already
Yes.
know.
Chief West is here with Sullivan.
Bradley, you take care of Sarah. I will deal with them.
You sure? All right.
So he's on our side now.
Stay on your side for a while. Who sold them?
The cops.
I've been hearing about you a lot lately. You seem to enjoy causing trouble.
Nice job, Chief. You got me. Great police work.
You can try to play smart with me all you want, Pierce. Witnesses have identified you as the one who set fire to Riverside.
Witnesses? How convenient. That's not the whole story, is it?
What?
I don't care about your stories. Save them for the judge. You know, us cops, we base our investigation on facts and testimonies. You might want to try that next time.
You bet I will.
So he got arrested. Never drank. Yeah, I didn't want to do the drinking one, so I had to restart anyways. So wait, now they're blaming him for the fire, but he wasn't even there.
Where are we? Look.
That makes no sense. Oh,
Remember you told her you saw turn off that gas?
oh yeah. I feel like I'm gonna be freed. The Kraken's gonna come save me.
You know, I've heard a lot about you, Mr. Pierce.
All good, I hope.
It appears that you've been involved in a variety of misdemeanors since your arrival on Darkwater. Entering private property, twice. Aggression, insulting behavior, and to top it all, arson.
I don't know which one to decide.
one.
With all the liquor that is openly on sale in the middle of Prohibition, do you really want me to believe that you're enforcing the law?
Enough of that. You're not going to tell me how to do my job. I would like to point out that it is you, not me, who is behind bars.
There are things going on right now that are so much more serious than what you accuse me of.
Yeah? So what's going on that I don't know about?
You'd be better off taking an interest in Dr. Fuller. The experiments he carries out on his patients are as inhuman as they are illegal. And when Dr. Colden wanted to put a stop to it, she too went under the knife.
What are you talking about? Nobody's reported any wrongdoings. Dr. Fuller is a man who is as much respected
Oh,
and
wow.
admired on the island as he is in his profession. It seems like you've got a grievance against him. Is that why you set fire to his institute?
I'm admitting nothing at all.
Come on, I'll show you to your new residence. I'll be back later to ask you some questions. I hope that you'll make the right choice and confess to everything. It would be as unpleasant for you as it would be for me if I had to adopt more advanced questioning.
I have no doubt about that.
Good night, Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Pierce, the Truth Seeker. We meet.
I'm getting out of here.
last.
Who's there?
Why is it raining in my cell? Never mind.
I am the one men named Leviathan. Not because of the scale of my terrestrial form, but as a reminder of the immensity of my knowledge, which I came to share with you, human. Do not struggle. You will not be able to speak or escape my influence. Excellent. Your mind has begun to expand. Your dreams have been gently shepherded by the being they call the Oracle. But it is your curiosity and your fate that have led you up
Okay, I
to
shouldn't have
this
submitted to
moment.
him. I should have struggled. But I would have
You are
died.
here to accept the knowledge and follow the path that leads to your freedom. This is an offer
The
that the
submit was
likes
kind
of
of the
you,
only thing that
particularly
makes
Yeah,
sense.
those
he's
with
basically
such
trying to help
rare
you. He's helping
characteristics,
yourself.
Yeah.
cannot refuse.
Why does he look like
The
Charles a
more
little
you
bit?
bend your human spirit to make it able to receive the truth, the closer you will come to embrace his power. Where is the Oracle, Truth Seeker? Would you like to see her? Where is the Oracle? Is she not the very object of your quest?
Oh, this is gonna affect
I'll
my
let
destiny.
you see for yourself.
Yep.
But do not forget, your fate has already been written.
I'm gonna have to redo this and go backwards and not accept
Our
anything.
paths shall cross again, Truth Seeker.
You know the risk, Sarah. If you happen to use your powers again, you may lose more than your life.
It is not about me, but innocent lives. I hope that your sources are reliable.
The bootleggers have the painting. If the dimensional shambler is to appear, he will do it here. The shambler! I knew it!
No! Not again!
I'm playing as her now. Okay, sweet.
Algernon, come back! Where is Algernon? And the Shambler?
lot of blood.
Hey! You can't leave us!
Sorry, old friend, but it's either you or me.
No! What are you... No! Open! Open up! Open this door!
It's here.
So she knew about the painting.
Angela, come. Look.
Another one? Oh no, it's the same one.
The beast is within our reach.
Are you sure you want to do it?
Let's go.
Quickly, come with me!
How do we kill it?
The Shambler can open breaches between dimensions. He uses glyphs as anchors to stay in our world.
Then I must destroy these glyphs.
Exactly.
How can I find them?
I will make the glyphs visible so you can revoke them. By doing so, this zone will be protected by
They're
a
the
barrier.
same, basically.
Perfect. Stay inside the shield.
I'll
Right.
create the protective barrier. Get back inside it as
I'll
soon
never
as you
forgive
sense the
myself for
slightest
this
danger.
painting.
The first glyph must have appeared somewhere on the floor.
Good. Get back now.
Okay, but where's the glyph?
I don't know, you just said it, but I couldn't.
He says somewhere on the floor.
Find that symbol, Sarah. It should react to the light if you use your lamp.
Those bottles.
I need some oil.
The first glyph must have appeared somewhere on the floor.
Somewhere on the floor. What
Where
floor?
is he?
Right there.
Find that symbol, Sarah. It
Whatever.
should react to the light if you use your lamp.
The glyph. I can't move it. Is it acting against me?
The ritual is working. Don't worry, it's just until I ward it off. Oh no. The Wanderer is back. The glyph is ready, Sarah. Run!
I need some oil.
Okay, so how? Like, I don't understand.
So you've got to light it up like that, let him do his magic, hit it, but then you gotta run back to him.
I don't even remember where it was.
The first glyph must have appeared somewhere on the floor.
Why is it so far away? I don't remember which way I went.
I know where it's at. Might need some oil first.
Find that symbol, Sarah. It should react to the light if you use your lamp.
He's kind of annoying. Not gonna lie. Let me some more. Where's the oil?
How many are there? I need some oil.
The first glyph must have appeared somewhere on the floor.
Alright, so what's up here?
That's what we both said.
Find that symbol, Sarah. It should react to the
Hush,
light if
sir.
you use your lens.
Hush. Shouldn't you be doing this shit, not me? You know so much about it.
I can't move it. Is it acting against me?
The ritual is working. Don't worry, it's just until I ward it off. Oh no. The Wanderer is back. The glyph is ready, Sarah. The second symbol has been revealed. You know what you have to do, Sarah.
Where would it be, sir?
The second glyph must have appeared. Let's press on.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, hey, right there. That's it.
Ain't be too far.
The symbol, he's getting stronger and more aggressive. If he catches up with you, try blinding him. The second glyph must have appeared. Let's press on.
Here?
Yeah, tell me how though when... Oh wow.
Where is it?
You startled me, my friend. I have the impression the Shambler is trying to anticipate our actions. The symbol must be here somewhere.
Oh,
Look closely.
hush.
That is what I'm doing.
He's getting stronger and more aggressive. If he catches up with you, try blinding him.
Yeah.
Now is when matters get complicated. I must breach the barrier to ward off the creature. You have to lure it in front of me, Sarah. Do you understand?
No.
Once it goes after you, I need you to guide it towards me.
There's another glyph, right?
Yeah, there's a third one.
Think about luring it back to it.
I'm not sure where the third one would be.
We're almost there, Sarah. Only one glyph left to find.
Can I let him get eaten, please? Please. Because he's annoying. Don't know where it is.
The glyph is near. I'm sure of it.
him slows him down just a little bit?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the last one?
Yeah.
Alright, where's the... I don't remember where it was.
Up on the rock behind you.
Up there?
One of them rocks behind you, yeah.
Alright, so go this way.
You have to lure it in front of me, Sarah. Do you understand? Once it goes after you...
Bro, can I
need you
not
to
let
guide
him
it
get
towards
eaten?
me.
He is fucking annoying. That was already done.
I've never been up there on one of the rocks. Rock opposite him? A rock?
Yeah, it was... Yeah, it's this way.
Oh, like
We're almost
No,
there,
it's this
Sarah.
way.
Only one glyph left to find.
Because I was facing opposite of him and trying to run. Without losing my leg. That one's done. Almost out of fuel.
The glyph is near. I'm sure of it.
Can you not come and do this glyph? Because at this point you're annoying. Can we not leave him? That was already done. Like, that's no fair because I already did. I need some more
Glyph left to find.
gas now. Wait, that wasn't fair. I already did it.
I'll never forgive myself for this painting.
Because I was running from, like, this way.
Yeah, you're going the right way. Turn to your right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no! Release me now! Algernon!
Done. Quickly, bring him towards me.
If I could, I would. Yeah.
Well done, Sarah. It's time we were done with this painting.
I did it.
Now going. Who's painting?
Painting.
Right there behind you. Turn around.
Like, it's right here.
Oh.
Let's go, Sarah. It's over.
Yo, it's over.
Do you hear something?
Oh no. It's coming back.
I can hear him. He calls me.
Sarah! No!
Algernon. My old friend. It's too late.
No.
You must resist. Please, don't!
No. I did not just do all this work so she can just crawl into the painting. Why? Chapter 11.
Alright,
Are you enjoying this playthrough?
Why did she do it? Damn it.
Did our guest enjoy our hospitality?
No.
Let me out of here.
I'm warning you, Pierce. I want a short and clear-cut confession. Do you admit your guilt in the case brought before you?
You don't have any idea what's happening on this damn island.
Chief West, we got a problem.
Damn it, not now. What is it this time?
Captain Fitzroy, Chief. Some guys have ransacked Roy's bar. They went berserk, attacked the patrons, smashed the place up. It's chaos.
This is only the beginning. Let me out.
Let's go take a look. Tell Sullivan and Marshall to keep this one nice and warm till I get back.
Are you stupid? Don't you understand?
They're not coming back.
Those goddamn idiots.
All I can do is take a nap until they let me out.
Truth Seeker, I find
Yep.
you again. As promised, I come back to reiterate the offer of truth. As your mind expands and finally understands the true
Yeah.
nature of the world,
Yeah.
your perceptions change. Are you ready to see your world and the ones that live in it as they truly are? Come, Truth Seeker. Follow the path of the ultimate truth.
I'm out. Jojo was staying alone. And Jojo was staying alone.
I thought we were made of the same stuff, Detective. Fighters. Survivors. I never would have thought you so naive. It's all your fault. You could have stopped this whole thing. Your army buddies, the villagers, me. We're all in danger, as long as you're alive.
Hey, killed him.
I can't go to sleep. Keep having the same dream. Or should I say nightmare? That pain in my chest as if I was being skewered. Hurtless, cold, silence. Then I wake up in a hospital bed alive. That voice whispers in my mind. I keep hearing it, and I don't know how long I'll be able to resist.
Poor guy. Make sure I didn't miss anything.
Who are you, Truth Seeker? I may see you in my dreams. I still can't decide if you
It's like a
are
trip
the
down
demon
memory lane.
or my liberation. This fate, it may have been written for both of us, but I will fight for what is right.
He's drawing me. Uh-oh. Going to someone else's body.
Dom, what happened?
Come, you'll want to hear what these two Egypts have to say.
This better be interesting.
Seems like someone decided to grant you your deepest wish.
A mutiny?
Worse, they killed Chief West
What?
and left his body in one of our warehouses.
Oh, they
You're
killed the
kidding.
chief.
They're all yours.
Which one of you is dumb enough to kill a cop and throw him on my doorstep?
We don't know nothing.
The dead body in my warehouse disagrees.
We swear, miss, it's not us.
I don't have time for this. Spill it.
We've got nothing to do with it.
Should I trust these two?
They're scared as shit.
What's more frightening than me?
Good question. The captain?
It's just a misunderstanding. Anyone can make a mistake.
Shut up.
Interesting. Let's go, Dom. Where is this workshop?
I'll go with you. He must be talking
This is
about the
gonna
old
end
boat
well.
repair workshop.
Release our friends, you bunch of...
Yeah, they've done nothing wrong.
Apart from killing a cop on our turf.
That's hooey.
How do you know they killed him?
Do you want me to settle it with some lead?
Threaten
Scurvy
people.
dog always threatening us.
Quieten these lunkheads down before I shiv the lot of them.
I'll take care of them. A bunch of liquor sponges aren't going to lay down the law round here.
I'll take a look at this workshop. Join me when you're finished.
I have no idea.
Here we are. Here we are.
Don't see anything else.
Corpse. Body.
Here we are.
Yeah, where's the body? There's nobody
I
here.
really can't see it. It's dark.
There is nobody here. Yeah, there's no body. Don't know if the body didn't spawn or what. Cause here's blood.
Here we are.
There's no body. May I have to restart?
Load last check.
Yeah.
Quieten these lunkheads down before I shiv the lot of them.
It still
I'll
has
take
the
care
same.
of them.
Don't look like there's
A bunch of
anything
liquor
there.
sponges aren't going to lay down the law round here.
I'll take a look at this workshop. Join
That
me when
didn't
you're
work then.
finished.
Not really. There.
Here we are.
Body's just hit. Loading last check. Wish it was a highlight.
Okay. I don't know. Oh wow. There was a whole door. I didn't see.
If someone had told me that one day West's work would kill him. Someone moved the corpse here. Where did the murder happen? We came from here.
So,
First one.
like, behind you. Obviously.
Little Bobby things.
Down the stairs. So this is where West was killed. What's that? What the fuck is that? Where did it come from? He wasn't alone. Who were those guys?
It's the cult.
There's only one man who smokes these gaspers. Fitzroy.
You're not supposed to be here, Truth Seeker.
What's going on outside?
Oh, no!
Next one who comes close gets one in the head.
Dom, get out of here.
No! I'll cover you, die! You filthy rat!
Damn it.
Who did? Why? Oh yeah, 'cause she turned bad, didn't she? But she's killing the fisherman.
Cracking.
So she's.
Makes sense?
A little bit.
Yes. Wake up.
What happened?
Take that weapon, you'll need it. Sarah Hawkins, she... Ah!
What? Tell me!
My head! You're coming into my head!
Bradley, damn it!
Kill
Pull
him. I
yourself
don't want to
together.
kill him.
You got me! I can't resist any
I can
longer.
save him or kill him.
We've been working together since I arrived here. I know you can overcome it.
It's too late. I lost Sarah Hawkins.
What?
I was unable to stop her.
What do you mean, unable?
She left with the bookseller. He came back, alone. Told me she couldn't resist the call. The doctors told me later they saw her going in the direction of the whaling station.
Damn it!
I'm turning, Pierce, into one of those things.
No! Keep fighting it, Bradley.
It's too late. You have to end this. Do it.
Do I kill him?
Kill me.
I don't know what happened.
Enough killing.
Idiot! Ah! Now go, you imbecile.
Turn into what? This turned into a plot twist game.
Sarah Hawkins was going to the whaling station.
Ready to shoot.
Who's there?
Stop. Sarah Hawkins was going to the whaling station.
Try to sneak.
Who's there?
Somebody come behind you. I heard him say, who's there? And his little white soul popped up beside him.
But how? How are you supposed to do that?
Sarah Hawkins
Which one
was going
is
to the
he?
whaling
Right there
station.
behind the barrels. There's a little alleyway behind the
Who's
barrels over there.
there?
Stop. Oh, God. What am I doing?
Thank you. How did you manage to get out of your cell?
Officer Bradley came to free me.
Bradley and his sense of justice. Where is he?
I'm sorry, officer. He's gone.
Did you?
No. When I left, he was still breathing.
Poor guy. I see you're out of bullets. Take these. Sullivan won't need them anymore.
Thanks.
Alright, I don't know where the whaling station is.
I didn't learn that part.
It's this way.
Looking out for people.
How many died because of this madness?
Where's Cat?
Go!
There's zombies.
Necromorph. All those people I believe has been dead this whole time. They keep alive.
I'm not sure which way the whaling station.
Hey, you! They got the boss. Nasty wound.
Oh no, they
I
got
wanted to
Cat.
get her the first aid kit in the Hawkins warehouse, but there's one of those poor bastards in it. Too dangerous.
I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, that's the... I don't know where to... Oh.
I would. Cats first.
That's what I'm trying to do. I don't know how to...
I thought it was there where that guy was at.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't remember how to get in.
Turn. That way, go upstairs.
Okay.
Go to the right, past the guy. U-turn. Other way. Over there.
Ah, no!
How was I supposed to do that?
I don't
like,
know.
how was I really supposed to do that? That was the stupidest thing ever.
I really don't know, because that didn't make sense.
Sarah Hawkins was going to the
I think
whaling
that's
station.
all over.
Who's
there? Barrels.
Stop. Oh, God. What am I doing?
Oh.
There's no aim on this.
How did you manage to get up?
Officer
Where we
Bradley.
heard this.
I'm
I
sorry.
left
Did he?
No.
I see.
Thank.
Go through here, make sure you're dead. I already done that one. Don't care to hear you again.
Alright.
I don't even know how to explain this game at this point.
Lady messed with the Book of the Dead when she probably thought it was a fake book.
Hey, you! They got the boss. I wanted, but there's one.
I'll see what.
Alright, cool.
I would walk there and then walk right back.
They're looking out.
That's what I was thinking.
This might prove useful.
Possible.
Hope his boss will have more luck.
I'm not sure where she is. Where's Cat?
Alright, that's the way back out too.
Shit. They're going to the whaling station. I'd better hide and wait until they're they're gone.
Who's there?
Damn it.
Cat. I don't know what cat is. I should have weighed in. It's doing aiming for me. Like there's no really any aim.
Shit.
It looks like St. Brendan's critics finally got him. Probably the cult's work. It looks like St. Brendan's critics finally got him. Probably the cult's work.
Is that you, Detective? Can't leave the damn island, huh?
I must go to the whaling station.
I'll help you get there if you bring me something to fix this wound.
Well, you can't find cat.
Here, take it.
Oh, thank you. The entrance to the whaling station is behind.
I'm taking it. Cat and call already.
Sorry.
Knocked over the cop and then said sorry.
Dead?
Yeah, he's dead. Really dead. You blue fuck. I was on the roll. Now I gotta restart.
Not from very far.
Actually, no, I didn't.
You just got saved.
Yeah. Gotta jump. Please be dead.
Who's there?
Why did I go who's there and then...
Thunder.
Who's there?
Do you want to do this? Because I don't know how.
Let my foot wake up.
Alright, so I'll just be on the process of stabbing myself. I don't have any bullets. Okay. I'm out of bullets. I'm all out of bullets.
And what do I do?
I don't know what to tell you.
Where do I gotta go?
Oh.
Damn it!
What are you doing, bro? Unless you give me something to hit with, this is not a good weapon. When every person in mankind is shot. Then when you go on the other side of that, you got what, all them people there?
Damn it! It's happening. It's happening.
I think it's you, bro. I think it's him.
Yeah.
It's happening.
You want to take back over now? Damn it, this chat room one more. Sure. Can we get past this? Alright, I'm past it. The loading bar is taking forever. Let's see.
Hither thou shalt be freed. Sarah is with those bastards. I gotta find her quick.
Big machine. Oh, you want to do it? I asked, you said no. Wait on you. Me too. There's the old over there. Like this. Stop trying to hit me. Finish on the bite. God, my chair gets thrown all the way over yonder. How far away my chair got?
Alright, let me grab a drink before I get started. Not as good as I used to growing up. We know what I'm talking about. Fagos, not as good as it used to be. Alright, so what machine were you? Oh, that.
Oh no, we need to find Sarah and get into the main room.
This tank seems strong enough to break down the door.
I don't know how to break it. Ladder's long.
A rope and a hook. Could use that to hold the reservoir back.
Is that all I really came down? Please don't be dead people.
Another volume of the Reverend's wife's diary.
Outside? I'm missing something. Yeah, but like, I'm not sure what office is. There's something hidden, like. There it is.
Looks like a page from a log from 1847.
Alright, I found everything. Make sure I found everything in this room. Oh, I didn't. I'm missing something from in here. Oh, there it is.
Fuller was a crew member too. Interesting.
Oh, so he was a crew member.
There was a surgeon on board, wasn't it?
Okay, so I gotta go upstairs now, because I'm not sure where the office is. Not outside. Oh, no, it's office.
I'll be lucky if it's still sharp enough.
I could use that.
Doesn't work. This handle moves the reservoir. If I can get some momentum, it might work as a ram. It mentions the Leviathan, how it drove the sailors mad.
I gotta get some momentum.
There's another right there.
It won't turn.
Oh yeah, you needed to connect that rope hook thing you bought.
This should stop the cart from moving. This should help me get the tank swinging. I need something to cut the rope to release the tank against the door.
I got something.
Oh, don't jump in there.
Is there a ladder? I don't remember. I wanted to do a jumpy jump. Gotta find some fluid for my land. Do some right in here.
What is that thing? What is that thing?
Closer.
No! That voice! You're the Leviathan! Sarah?
That was not Octopus Guy. That was Sarah.
The picture was Octopus Guy.
I know. Find Sarah Hawkins.
Hello.
Not saying anything.
Who is this? The quest for truth requires
Truth.
sacrifice. There's no room for compassion.
Who's there?
Your stubbornness at wanting to help others who would have deserted you is a weakness. Fate leads us inevitably to solitude, and in one's final moments, one is always alone. You can't escape it forever. It will always find its way. Damn it!
What the fuck?
Everything points back to the day they brought in that thing. While the sailors were going insane, Fitzroy and the mutineers took over the ship and probably killed the captain.
I haven't been leveling up anything. There we go. Alright. No, I'm gonna leave it open just in case I need to escape. Apparently, yeah, it's a panic attack
They
right now.
eat his flesh while he's still alive.
Don't know. I know I need to go that way, but I'm exploring. Make sure What's this for? Go.
Oh.
Oh, right here. It doesn't do good in tight surfaces. He looks like a sardine can down in here.
That's actually the best part. I never understood why in that they don't really stay very long.
The door is blocked on the other side.
Okay, so basically I just went through.
Learn to obey.
No, not the crazy guy.
I'd rather be strapped to the bed and talk to this guy.
Ah, finally awake. How do you feel, Mr. Pierce?
Fuller! Son of a bitch! I'll kill you!
No, I'm not even really with you. Well, to be perfectly precise, I am with you. But not in this cell.
What have you done to me?
Me? Nothing, really. See, it's one of the exquisite effects of this incredible creature.
Leviathan!
I see you already know about it. Well, shall we begin?
What? Do I not take the treatment? I don't know. Eat the meat or don't eat the meat?
You pick.
Did I eat it? It made me eat it anyways.
Let me take a sample from you. Flesh, blood, spinal fluids. Don't fear. I created the mythology. Who knows what I can...
I killed him.
A necessary sacrifice that proves your determination.
I didn't have to kill him.
Find the truth and be free.
I didn't have to kill him.
That's just...
Nothing's happening.
Before you open the door, one.
My pack normally kills me each time I kick one. I feel like I'm walking the plank of my death. As I said. Then why is it there? Or I felt myself murdered.
Nothing's happening.
See? This way? Gotta get over there. This one? No.
Alright, there is another path.
Not that one either.
There is one more.
Where?
Turn around. That's it. Just...
There's no way.
I'm confused. I'm really confused.
You. I'm at the end and I can't figure this out. I turned this one on.
Yeah.
But I can't turn anyone else on.
Right.
So did I turn the wrong one?
Don't tell me you need to go back to
Whenever you can tell me how.
Nothing's happening.
Alright, there you go, go across.
It doesn't work like that.
Are you here? Back up. Come on. Right, return. that turn. So,
Who would have thought of that?
I don't even know, but I know you walked off the edge. But I don't understand how that's even remotely.
Who would have thought of, oh yeah, look at all these turns I gotta take. Okay, now I gotta roundabout and then up.
No. I think it's that one, yeah.
Who would have thought of that?
I don't really know, because it don't make sense.
I didn't do it right.
That was the wrong valve.
Okay, good to know that it has a freaking preference of how to do something. Turn on.
Nothing's happening.
Who would have even? Oh yeah, I gotta go to this one, this one.
Turn, and then it turned right back down to that.
Right here, and then there. I would have thought about that.
The valves for a second. Alright. I'm sorry, but I couldn't. That's one I could not figure out. Even if I had to figure it out for my life, I could not.
Okay, I did that.
Alright. Now it gives you one path right back.
Oh, so you mean I don't have to take a leap of faith and try to end myself?
No.
Open? Of course it blows up, but why not?
Oh, yeah.
I see this. Fuck Sarah, get me out of here! I don't know where to go. Exactly. There's no way. There is no way to get past that. I could have went through the other side and got out. How do you get out? Exactly. Okay, so I gotta get in between the two squares and then crouch.
Oh, really?
Well, it looks like it. Not in this one. I don't do good. Like, I don't understand. Yeah. Okay, it's your turn, because at least I would thought the thing's gonna save me, but no. And it's like it stops me right there.
Purposely. I'm gonna tell you, Tom. This game is pretty good. Hey. Outside of the hoops and bounds that you gotta do. Alright. How about hit restart?
I would cry.
I'd shit myself. Or hit restart. Okay. Bro, his movements are so weird. Okay. Oh, wow. What?
Good luck.
What? Brain no worky. What? Oh, this is a... Where'd I go, man? This is the final chapter. What?
Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, like if I go on up, it falls on me. If I go backwards, it falls on me. The beam ain't that big. Beams don't move when they fall. That's what it is. What? I'm not understanding. I'm just don't keep dying because I'm not understanding. The method of their what they want you to do ain't working. The damn beam ain't that big.
But yeah, it keeps following you.
The beam ain't that big. There's no logical way that's even possible. Ain't that big. You can stop pretending it's that big. It ain't that big. was a metal building there. Where the hell did the wooden beam come from? Yeah! I thought the building was metal. Where did the damn beam come from? It's wooden! I don't know how you see about that. My eyes go this way trying to look at it. I don't understand.
Yes. Fitzroy. Time to hoist the white flag. We're not gonna hurt you.
Wait, what?
Fitzroy's telling him to surrender.
I won't go without a fight.
You think you're here of your own accord?
Stay back, or I'll put a bullet in your head.
Our supreme oracle has spoken. You will follow your destiny.
What?
In his awakening.
I see. You cannot escape my awareness. I followed your wanderings, your choices, your attempts to free yourself from destiny. But it is unavoidable. And as I predicted, you have come to free me.
Her back.
What the hell?
I don't want to look at it. Or I ain't gonna be struggling here trying to me get up out of this chair again. It's hurting myself. Shrink out by this. This beam sticks out so far.
That's what I was telling you. My desk is wider than yours.
No. My chair's is closed. I don't fit through there. My knee's big.
This is a good game overall. How did I make it?
The voice. I can't hear the voice anymore.
You are trapped. Keep going.
My God.
This way. Stand up. Walk.
Is somebody there? Hey, who are you?
I keep waking up and blacking out and waking up.
Where am I?
You're dead. But alive.
Oh, I did.
I'm delighted to be alive dead. Alright, okay, I got control of
Oh, I
it
have to
again.
go and Teddy's message popped up. It caught my mouse during that run scene. Got caught on the message box and I couldn't run.
The miraculous catch was a trap. Leviathan wanted to be found.
Oh, I get it. You remember they were talking about the miraculous catch?
Yeah.
That was Leviathan.
Fallen crew members. They
That was
given their
him.
lives for a greater
But who
purpose.
calls it?
The last name added is that of Charles Hawkins.
Why?
I'm willing to bet that they killed all the survivors of the miraculous catch.
All the people that caught the miraculous catch.
That's him. He's behind you.
It will soon be time, Edward Pierce.
You are dead. None of this is real. I saw you dead, as I see you now. Am I crazy too?
You survived. Don't you understand? You couldn't die. You
What?
will stay alive until you've fulfilled your destiny.
No.
Look at me. Look at me, Pierce. Dare tell me that you still don't believe it.
Ooh.
What has happened to you?
Oh, Pierce. You insist on ignoring the truth when it's right there in front of you. Sarah Hawkins saw you as you really are. This painting is the proof.
This is madness.
It's not just your life that is at stake. Many men and women have sacrificed themselves for this moment.
Colden!
You will not deprive them of their hope of a better life.
I saw what Leviathan did to Fuller. We will all die like him.
His life was written well before it started. It was not predetermined that he lived to see the call. But you? Yes. It is your destiny.
What do I do?
This painting. The investigation. I understand now. Like you, I was called here by a higher power.
Yes. All your choices had the sole purpose of preparing you for the final decision.
I must make a choice.
Not just make a choice. The right choice.
Not yet, but soon. We have one more thing to accomplish.
What is it?
I must take you to Sarah Hawkins, our Oracle.
Sarah, I feel her calling me. Let us not wait any longer.
Not yet. You have one last thing to accomplish.
No, please. I can't do it.
Do you understand what it is?
She has already fulfilled her mission. Worry about your own.
No. No.
No one can fight their fate. Neither them, nor you.
I guess so.
Shut up! Silence! Stop! Go away! Stop!
Don't resist, Edward. They're already dead. There's nothing you can do. Just give in.
I'm so confused.
Sorry.
What happened to me? Sarah. I must go to Sarah. She is the Oracle. She will know what to do.
I'm not sure what Sarah is.
I'm not sure.
What do you mean? I have no idea.
Go up the ladder to get.
No.
Alright. Where's where must make well?
It's the end! We finally made it.
I'm as confused now as I wasn't when I was at
Exactly, like what's going on? I mean, I know the occult, I know you had to basically kill yourself and everyone else because she raised the dead, but it doesn't make sense why.
I don't even know.
Yeah, what was the purpose? Well, Cthulhu was that thingy that keeps talking to him.
Oh, Leviathan?
Yes.
Where did that come from?
Reality as you know it stops here.
None of this makes sense.
Exactly.
Oh, she is waiting.
None of this makes sense. I'm trying to put 2 and 6 together and it doesn't go.
What have they done to me?
Come on.
Oh!
Mr. Pierce, I was expecting you.
Fuller,
Again?
you died in front of my eyes.
Don't jump to conclusions. Is there not the tiniest spark of a scientific mind inside of that detective skull of yours?
What abject substance did you use to turn her into an empty shell?
Abject substance. The serum extracted from Leviathan's oil bestows the power of life. To me, my body is nothing but the mortal vessel of my conscience. To you, it contains more answers and secrets than your insignificant mind
So was
can
he doing
grasp.
good or bad? So the serum brought everyone back to life, but was he using it for good or bad? The nightmares, because they keep reliving their dead. Yeah,
Really stand up.
but she won't.
Here you are. You never give up.
That is not you. Not anymore. Not since your disappearance on the docks.
Ah, detective. So easy to fool you. So eager to rush to the rescue of a woman in distress.
You won't make me regret having tried to save people. I did what I could. Even for Colden.
Your efforts to change your destiny, although in vain, make you worthy of the fate that is yours. The day has come. You will be asked to choose.
Yeah, this game just got even creepier. tiny, though. Myself. Charles.
You took everything from me. Wife, life, destiny.
You forsook your right to a normal life the moment you chose power over humanity. No one wants to see such an unbearable sight.
You don't have the slightest idea of what you speak, of what I've been through. I have sacrificed my life to the one who sleeps. My marriage, my family, my own flesh. Why didn't Sarah choose me? Why is it your damn face on her painting?
Got a point.
But you already know it. I can see that you will make the right choice.
I don't know. I don't know.
Your fear of the unknown and your stupid pride cloud your judgment. Quit lying to yourself and embrace your destiny. It's not cowering that brought you those medals. None of this is real. Trust your guts.
If nothing's real, what are you?
I am a projection of your mind. What remains of that instinct that pulled you out of the trenches. Don't listen to them. They're too dangerous for your tired mind.
So I can't understand, like, which other what would you choose?
It's right there.
I'm almost there.
Is that stuck? Oh, what side do I go for? Okay, I don't know what to pick. Yeah. Gotta go truth or reality. Which one would you pick? Sarah.
Here you are at last, Truth Seeker.
She was waiting for you.
You were waiting for me.
Yes. When I finally discovered the truth, I knew you would come. All this time I was fighting it, afraid of what I might discover. But I was afraid of myself.
It's coming.
What did you learn?
Listen to me, Edward Pierce, as I will deliver the truth.
I have seen things. Strange and horrifying, but always true.
Will you trust my words?
Yes.
No.
One man only prepared by the trials and revelations, holds the power to change the world. Because I saw you in the dreams I share with my God. I recognize you for what you are, a truth seeker. One of the rare humans who is able to perceive fragments of his mind.
Yes, yes!
I feel the truth in your words.
Because it was written. Or, as I like to see it, painted on the canvas of fate.
Pierce, help me!
Now she wanted to put it into it. What do they want me to do? I don't know which one to do.
You're still not for target Shagawa. 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 You're still not for target Shagawa.
I ended it, but now I'm gonna die. I died. GG's, guys. I guess I should have done the ritual. Because I died.
That was anticlimactic.
Well, that's the end of the game. Thank you all for stopping by. I don't know what to say. That was weird. Maybe, hang on. Let me see if I can go back in. Oh, what is this? Am I still alive?
We doubled the dosage as you asked us to, Doctor.
Good, thank you.
Nope, that's fuller. I'm now a mental patient.
He was always a mental patient. You killed Fuller.
Is there any way I could get to the...
Alabaster Point.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do the opposite of what I did and see what happens there.
Because if you ended it right,
Yeah.
doing the opposite ritual, how's Fuller back alive?
Exactly. That doesn't make any sense. So we're gonna see if I can quickly go back and redo it. So instead of doing the counter, I need to do the other. Good game, though.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused.
Maybe it'll let me pull it back up. Enter the madness. Okay, so yeah, cool. I can redo it. We're gonna see what the other ending does. Because that ended a little quick. Alright, it's gonna kill the guy. I already know. Can I not skip this word or seen it? Yeah, but... Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Here you are at last, Truth Seeker.
Oh yeah, I can
You were
skip it.
wait.
Yes, all that I was...
What did...
Listen.
I have seen.
Will you?
Yes.
One, because...
I feel...
Because...
Pierce, help me!
I want to perform this time. Foliar? Fitzroy? He looked like Foliar back there.
Yeah. Fuller is one pretty black glass.
So they all basically done it, one by one. Everybody on that town. Yeah. They're gonna kill me.
Cthulhu,
Yes. I'm gonna be stabbed. Wow. What is that? All right, cool. So we got both endings. I'm waiting on to see if there is a cutscene.
How'd you get to it last time?
I have no idea. Oh, I just let it play. That's cool that I was able to go back and look at both endings.
Apparently this game is dedicated to something. That's the way.
Yeah. It's a good game. Like, honestly.
That did.
No. It has to send me back to the main menu. Let's give it a minute. The end should be near.
That's range.
I don't know how.
I think. Oh, the right button.
There's another one?
Yeah, there's 3 endings.
Oh, sweet. I guess I want to.
Alright, hold on. Get the post credit scene.
Oh, there it is.
Oh. You may want to watch this. Pretty cool.
Alright, I'm gonna try for all 3 endings. We're beating each other up. Really? What for? What do you mean? Is he trying to kill himself? Oh wow. Zombies. How come he's not mad? Where did she go? He's dead. Alright, we're gonna try for the third one. Alright, so refuse it?
Mm-hmm.
How?
I don't know. Let's just sit there and wait for it.
It's cool how I can go back and do all 3 endings at once.
Yeah, I was just reading this. Curious. There is a way to get all 3. A lot of people have been playing it back all the way through just to get.
I mean, each decision's different, so. No, I told you I only had like 3 hours left. No. It's been. No, I was waiting on them to move.
Oh.
Alright, so basically I have had.
Here you are at last.
You were.
Yeah, all this, but I was afraid
2
of
hours.
myself.
I've been on for 2
When
hours.
did you learn?
Listen.
Look around you. Everything is falling apart. You must stop this madness.
I can't make that choice. This will be your decision. One man only prepared by the trials and revelation. Because I saw you in the dreams, a truth seeker.
Yes, yes.
I feel that.
Because it.
Pierce, help me!
Okay, what do I do?
From what I gathered, there'll be a timer that runs out. Unless there's
There is no option. Okay, cool. So yeah, we're just gonna say
you're supposed to be able to, but I don't know. There's
it's all based on decisions for us
there's
throughout the game.
4 endings altogether. There's a protagonist suicide, the regular ending, suicide, and then the counter ritual.
So basically, I'm gonna have to redo it all. Anyways,
Yes.
thank you all for stopping by. We thought we could get the third ending, well, fourth ending, well, third and fourth, but we couldn't. So with that being said, we're just gonna go ahead and close out the recording. This game is very interesting and it was fun to play and hard, but yeah. So I will catch you all later. Where am I live at?